People in the modern world think that because we are more technologically advanced than previous civilizations, that we are more enlightened. And it truly is an interesting paradigm because basically the thought process goes something like this. Technology in the modern world is better. We have radio, we have television, we have mass communication, and therefore we have more knowledge. And in comparison to people of the past, they were primitive, they were bigoted, they were all of these negative connotations that we hear when people talk about history. But what people are really doing is they are taking credit for the advancements in technologies, the discovery, the science of very few people that have lived in the world. They're saying, oh, well, we have radio, we have television, we have the internet, and therefore I am enlightened. And look at those very primitive, backward people of the past. Look at my grandparents. They were so backwards. But there's another way to analyze the situation that might be more accurate. I do believe it to be more accurate. Throughout most of human history, and this is undeniable, throughout all civilizations, pretty much, all civilizations are defined by individuals or groups of people plotting and scheming or killing or going to war to accumulate wealth and to accumulate power. And of course, one of the most important aspects, or one of the most important things a ruler can do to maintain power, is to control the minds of the masses, make sure that there's no mutiny, because if the people want a revolution, you won't be in power for very long. So you have to make sure that the masses aren't going to the street and the masses aren't going to try to cut off your head. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. You can do this with an iron stick, so to speak, right? Anyone who speaks up against you, you make an example of them, you kill them, and this way everyone else is afraid to speak up. And certainly we've seen a lot of that in human history, and very successfully in certain civilizations, at least for periods of time. But as Machiavelli pointed out in The Prince, that's a very ineffective way to control the masses, because although you are being harsh and brutal and you are knocking them down, you are killing people's fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters and lovers, and that makes them hate you, and that makes people want to take to the streets and kill you. So Machiavelli pointed out that it would be a much more effective way to rule was to be a little bit harsh, but all in all to make people's living conditions bearable, even to make them believe that you don't rule them even though you do. And what he was really referring to is to make sure that you control the minds of the masses so that they don't hate you or they don't blame you for the terrible conditions they're living in, and thus they don't want to put your head on a pike. And when I think back of all of the rulers through history, what some of them could have done with modern technology, because we live in a world now where human nature hasn't changed. There are individuals and there are cabals, groups of people who wish to gain wealth and power. Now, I don't have to get too much into your perspective, but we all know this is true. Some people say it's the corporations. Some people say it's the politicians. People with brains realize it's both. Some say it's the ruling aristocracy. Some say it's the bankers. And we may disagree on who these people are that wish to gain wealth and power, but there is no doubt that these people are out there and the world works like this to some degree. So then you take advancements in modern communication like radio and television and the internet and realize that human nature hasn't changed. And these people who wish to gain wealth and gain power, they do it. One of the primary ways they do it is through control of these means of communication. Now, in civilizations like, you say, oh, well, we're in the United States of America. Well, certainly, or England or Australia or Canada, certainly we are, even with that being the case, more knowledgeable than, I don't know, let's say the Soviet Union, right? I mean, that was state-run media, right? Or, Nazi Germany, that was state-run media. Well, the thing is that people in those societies, they knew it was state-run media. In the Soviet Union, they laughed at Pravda because they knew anything that came from Pravda was just government talking points. It was kind of a joke, it was, oh, well, it must be true. That's what Pravda says, and that's why those civilizations, those cultures are so sarcastic in their nature, because if they said anything else, they'd be killed. But if you think about it, in the West, there's a much greater degree of mind control than the state-run media using these modern forms of communication from the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, because in the West, people actually believe that the ruling class doesn't control the media. So they believe that the media is reporting on the ruling class when it only takes about 5 minutes of research to figure out that the ruling class controls the media. If you don't believe me, just research the Church Committee, Operation Mockingbird. This is all admitted. There's no question about it. And I could go into tremendous detail about how that's the case, but for people that don't believe me, well, you're not going to believe what I say, so go research it for yourself. Modern technology has given us the unique ability to understand the world on a deeper level than people in the past could ever have dreamed of. But it's a catch-22 because it also has provided more distraction, and it has provided a better medium to control the minds of the masses than ever imagined. So, ask yourself this if you want to know how good of a hold you have on the world. The next time you turn on the mainstream media and you watch the news, keep track of how much you agree with. And if you agree with the majority of what the news, the state-run media is telling you, you have been made into a mental slave.